Let's talk about the rules of engagement. And I think this is important. Is Stephen Jagger and I sat down and we thought, when we wrote Sociable, the big debate was, what do we write about first? Like, at that time, rolling back now, it was only a year and a bit ago, we were debating, what the biggest platform was. And at that point, there was a lot of noise about the growth of Facebook, and it's still going. And we thought, should we just talk about Facebook first? Because people keep asking us about it. Or should we talk about Twitter? Because marketers are really into it. And what we realized is that we shouldn't talk about any tools first. Is that the tools change. MySpace today is a social profile graveyard. That's what it is. It is a graveyard of social profiles. They've been abandoned. They've been left. Twitter could be that way someday soon. Facebook could morph, change, and be that way as well, depending on the demographic group. And so what we realized is that what we need to look at is the rules of engagement first, is the rules don't really change. And they really do apply, maybe slightly different in each platform. And so these aren't me standing up here and preaching to you as to what you should not do. These are really best practices I'm going to share with you based upon maybe Steve and I, what we did wrong initially. And also what we'd observed from best practice from clients. So number one, the first step when we're using social media to communicate and engage with customers is stop pitching and start connecting. This is a huge one. So this is back to me connecting with Damien on LinkedIn. And then immediately connecting on, hey, thanks for connecting. By the way, have you seen my new free download for my ebook? And the next week, hey, Damien, I've got a new one coming out. And by the way, you've got this connection I saw. Could you introduce me? And there's this person who immediately, when they connected with a social community, begins to really make withdrawals instead of making deposits. And that's the first major mistakes individuals and brands make. Number two, doers win in the game of social media. We can't win by being lurkers. I've also had a number of companies, share with me, organizations, individuals say, look, I tried that blogging thing, it doesn't work. And I go, okay, give me the URL of your blog, let's look at it. And we'll find there's been 3 blog posts. That was it. They've done 3 blog posts. They were usually about them and their products. They got no reaction. They spent a ton of money on building a beautiful blog, and they abandoned them. And so really it takes getting involved and staying involved to win. It's like who here is part of a professional association in your region that you're part of or your organization is part of to help you grow your business from a business development perspective. Okay, most of us, right? Could even be just a local chamber of commerce, for instance, in your community. We all know that when we join those that you're not going to get your ROI in the first 3 months. That we're going to get out of a community what we put into it. And so that still really holds true online. Number 3, it's not about us. So me marketing doesn't really fly on the social web. About product announcements, here's what we're up to, here's what we're doing. This was a hard one. I often address audiences of realtors. Stephen Jagger and I do. And talking about the social web, and our first lesson is, number 1, no one cares about your listings. This is a hard one for realtors as well. Like posting to your Facebook wall, posting to Twitter, blogging about it. No one cares until they're ready to buy a house, which is about every 4 years. Okay, so between now and I bought my house, the next 4 years, if you want a relationship, you better be talking about who? Me. And my community, and how you can connect, and what can benefit me. So number 4 is be fearless in your contribution to community. And this is a really important one. Is kind of how I got involved in social media was, again, my background sales training. So we've got clients all around the world, and what I looked at was competing with the big guys toe-to-toe was difficult from a budget perspective. But what we could do is we got great content. So I started leading on blogging and podcasting and YouTube and LinkedIn to get that content out there. And one of the things I did is I started creating more and more content, and I made this decision. I had a fair bit of criticism when I had my first hour or 2 hours of free content on the web, where I actually had peers who were really competitors say, Shane, if you give it away, then they won't want to pay for it. And I kind of was new ground, so I couldn't really look at anybody to get advice on it, and I decided I was going to go the opposite of the grain. And I said, you know what? I understand where you're coming from, but I'm going to continue to give it away, to the point where now, if you look on my blog, I've got 30 hours of free audio on sales and social media. And what was interesting is that one day I was actually laying in bed, and not in the middle of the day, but in the morning. That's what speakers do. We speak for an hour a day, we go back, lay in bed. No, that is a perception, but not the truth. Anyway, so I was in bed, it was 6:45 in the morning, and my cell phone rang. And it was a guy named Jeff Booth. And Jeff is the CEO of BuildDirect.com. So they do $200 million a year of sales of building supply materials, 95% of them in the US, and the rest sort of sprinkled out throughout the world. They're actually the world's largest online wholesaler and retailer of building supply materials, solely online. And I didn't know this. My phone just rang, and I saw this number I hadn't seen. I thought it was from someone back east, because who else would call me at 6:45 on my cell phone if I live on the West Coast? But it was a local number. So I Googled it, and I saw that it was the direct line for the CEO of Build Direct. And so then I got my clothes on, because I don't like to cold call naked anymore. It's awkward, though. It is. Like, you know something they don't the first time you meet them in person. And so I got my clothes on, and I called Jeff, and I started talking to him, and he was very aggressive about the fact that I had to come down to his office, like, today and talk to him about sales training for his organization. So, I thought, this guy's kind of really aggressive, but I read his profile. Okay, so I met with him that day at 4:30. And it was only for 45 minutes, and it was like I fed him all his lines. Like, it was the easiest sales meeting I'd ever had, and I thought, okay, this is going to go south somewhere. Like, he's going to say he wants to only give me stock to do sales training, or he wants to pay me if I get results. Or I've heard all this stuff before, right? But no, he said, that sounds fantastic. You just have to meet my marketing team. And I thought, okay, here it goes. This is the hammer. And I met his marketing team for 45 minutes the next day, and it was the same thing. It was so easy. And they said, write us a proposal. And I said, okay, well, I'll write you a proposal for 2 days worth of training and consulting. And then if you like what I've done, we'll expand that into that 6-month relationship you talked about. But I understand you want to get to know me. And Jeff goes, no, I want a proposal for the 6-month program. And I'm doing the numbers in my head, and I'm going, even for a $200 million company, that's a huge commitment. So I kind of threw a number out and kind of waited. And Jeff goes, yeah. I go, okay. So I went off and immediately wrote this proposal. Who's been there? You want to write that proposal before they cool off, right? So I went and wrote that proposal right away. I emailed it through, but I thought, this is going to be hurry up and wait. The excited prospect who gets all fired up and then makes you wait. My phone rings a day later. So Monday morning he calls me, Tuesday I have the meeting, gets the proposal Wednesday. The phone rings like Wednesday afternoon, and it's Jeff's personal assistant. She says, Shane. Actually, she said at that time it was Mr. Gibson. Now she just calls me Shane and a whole bunch of other stuff. But she said, Shane, come on down to our office. Jeff's got the deposit check for you at the front desk. We'd like to start on Friday. I was like, that's interesting. And I kind of got excited and went down. And when you go to pick up the check, I'm still kind of going, okay, this is a 6-month contract. I'm in there once a week, and I meet with the executives once a month. I'm doing the dollars. It still doesn't make sense. I'm going to pick up the check, but you don't go to someone's office and go, why do you like me? Right? That kind of would blow the whole confidence thing from the sales trainer. So instead, I got the check, and I cashed it, and it cleared. I went in and started doing training. Now, after 3 or 4 months of working with him, I got to have a good relationship with Jeff. And I'd been to his 40th birthday party at his house, and I'd gone out for beers with him and his team, and we went to a few hockey games together, and I felt more comfortable. And so I sat down with Jeff one day, and what I said to him is I just kind of, after getting to know him, I kind of grabbed a chair here and hauled into his office, and I said, Jeff, we've been doing business together here for 3 or 4 months, and I got to ask you a question. I said, and it really was like this. I said, I was a little confused when you first hired me. It was a huge commitment. You hardly knew me. Why did you like me? Like it was just kind of that straightforward. Like, why did you hire me? I mean, you didn't seem to have enough information. And he leaned over a little closer than I was comfortable with, and he said, Shane, you have me from hello. And then I was like, whoa, okay, thanks, bud. Thank you very much. I'll be leaving, right? And then he laughed like crazy. And he said, I subscribed to your podcast through iTunes like several months before we hired you. And I've been sharing this stuff with our team. We've been reading your blog posts. We've been following you on Twitter. You're very transparent. We even know what you ate for lunch. That's cool. But, and you post other stuff and interact with people. And you even put your customer list on your website. And I was able to find some CEOs that I know through IPO and ask them what they thought of you. And, one of them gave you a really good endorsement. And I decided when you came in my office that I was going to hire you, as long as you didn't blow the first meeting. That was it. I'd already made up my mind. And that's the power of contributing really more and being fearless. It's putting that content out there. It's having dialogue. It's being open. It's opening up those channels of communication and content and really letting your customer, this was a customer-led interaction. Traditional sales says, here's my 5 steps and my funnel. And really, social CRM is about monitoring and engaging customers or letting them consume our content the way they do, and then moving through their own process of buying. Does that make sense? And so had I maybe met Jeff a little bit before that, and he came up my radar, which I monitor everything he does now through the social web, I'm able to learn more and more about that customer, and they're able to learn more and more about us. But that situation with Jeff is happening more and more with all kinds of organizations, and that's how many people like to make their decisions today. Number 5, don't be a social spammer, engage. Now, social spam is a little different than email spam. Email spam is I pick your email address off of your LinkedIn profile, and I start pummeling you until you block me or find some way to get rid of me. Okay, it's typically to 10 people or to 1 million, but it's often off topic. Social spam is a little different because if you follow me on Twitter, the argument is I can't spam you because you agreed to listen. Okay, and if you connect with me on LinkedIn, you gave me permission to send stuff to you. And if you're my friend on Facebook, I have to watch all those updates on your wall. But the reality is that anything that's not relevant is spam, in my opinion. There's too much noise out there, and it shows a level of disrespect for the permission you've given me if we've connected, and I'm pushing irrelevant content to you. So if you have 200 contacts on LinkedIn, or even 200 contacts, key clients in your CRM, are they aggregated into 20 different interest areas? And are our messages going out very relevant to each of them, or are we just pushing the same message out to everyone? And with social, the thing is, unlike email, is if I don't like what you're saying on Twitter, I unfollow you. If I don't like what you're up to on LinkedIn, or on Facebook in particular, I can limit your access to my profile information. I can disconnect you on LinkedIn. Or worse, on Facebook, this is a great one, I can mute your updates, corporate or personal, on my ongoing stream, and you'll never know. You still think you got 400 friends, but you're really talking to yourself because they've all put you on mute. You're like, hey, I'm here today, and no one's listening. Why isn't anybody commenting? Well, they've muted you, right? And so we've got to really, really honor that permission to connect. Number 6, and this goes back to the cocktail party this evening, is be authentic, because we have no choice. Everybody's worried about Big Brother, and I'm worried about you. You've all got a camera on your phone. The capacity to take a photo and publish it in an instant to Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, everywhere, instantly. And so everybody in this room has those megaphones. And so gone are the days that we can have a personal profile and a personal network and a personal behavior and then a public behavior, because it's being documented by everyone. And this is the big one where I'll have people say, but that's why I'm not on Facebook. I don't want stuff about me on the internet. I'm like, really? Do you have a 14-year-old nephew or niece with a camera on their phone? Oh, yeah. Oh, well, you're on Facebook then. You just don't know you're on Facebook. Okay, putting your head in the sand and not monitoring social conversations does not mean people aren't talking about you or your brand. The same goes for our company. If we promote globally how fantastic we are through our marketing, our branding, our website, our conferences, our events, yet we treat our staff poorly internally, that gets out really quick. And they don't tell 10 friends anymore they're unhappy with their employer. They tell 1,000 Facebook friends and 500 LinkedIn connections and 10,000 Twitter connections. So the great thing is, if you've got an authentically fantastic brand and one grounded in good values, this is now your advantage, the marketplace. Promote it. And number 7 is be consistent. And this is something that I've done a fair bit of work with Ford Motor Company of Canada around their commercial social media use. But talking with their team out of Detroit was one of the things they've learned from just their global social media use is once you open Pandora's box, you can't close it. That if you say to your customers, I'm listening, I'm not only going to answer my phone, but I'm going to listen to you on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm going to interact. And you know what? I'm going to, when I log into my CRM and take a look at your feed on Facebook and Twitter and your blog feed before I interact with you, and I'm going to be on topic and relevant, I've got to continue to do that. So there is a commitment to truly engage once we start.